So I thought I'd explain where we're going on this video. We're going to visit Ray and Peaches, who are special friends of mine. I met Ray when I was in high school, and in about 1968-69, I went out west with him on a trip where there was 5 of us in a convertible, pulling a trailer, and just exploring the craziness of the whole Pacific Southwest area. For over 40 years, Ray and I kept in touch, and lo and behold, one day, I get about 2 days notice, Ray says, "Hey, how's about I come and visit you with my Class A motorhome?" I didn't even know he had one. He shows up with a, 36, 37 foot Class A on our busy boulevard, and parks like he's parking a car, and proceeds to entertain all of the stupid questions Sue and I had about his RV life and what it was like to drive this thing. And it was just a fantastic day that we spent in his motorhome right in front of my house. Now, the mistake for me was that Ray was so nice that he let me drive his. And from that moment on, I was never the same. Because not only was it a lot easier driving one of these monsters than I thought, it just put the bug in me, and I couldn't get rid of it. It was kind of like malaria. So now, normally, when you would approach your wife and you say, "Hey, do you want to get rid of our wonderful house and leave all of our wonderful friends, and oh yeah, leave your daughter behind, and I'll leave my grandkids behind, and we'll go drive around in a box like that?" Well, fortunately, I'm married to a wonderful woman, Sue, and she said, "You know what? If we don't do it now, when the heck are we ever going to do it?" And we know that we have Ray and Peaches to thank for this, and that's why they're such special friends to us. Come on along, let's get going.
Where are you going, Mark?
I gotta make sure I lock it. We're going to the Larkspur ferry that goes across the water into San Francisco, because I'm too timid to drive into San Francisco. It's a 20.
And this is why we're taking the ferry into San Francisco. This is just from Petaluma down to the Larkspur ferry. Pretty congested. 5 lanes, 8 a.m. So we left Petaluma probably about 7:30 this morning, and normally it's like, what, a 20-minute ride? 25?
I think it was last night, 29 minutes I looked.
Okay, so it took us about 55 minutes to get here. Of course, we're doing rush hour, but, we're retired. Who cares? We're heading for the terminal now, and we'll get on the ferry and head towards San Francisco.
Right.
How long is the ferry ride?
I don't know, but I was really proud of myself that I loaded the parking app last night, only to spend about another 35 minutes working on it here. And I was just about ready to commit a murder. It would have been my own, but finally
it's called
I made
suicide.
it. So.
Okay, and we're here, and we're off. It costs Mark $6 as a senior and me $12. Well worth it. It was the most relaxing, beautiful ride into San Francisco. We were talking to one person who takes the ferry in every day to work, and he said this is probably the best commute in the whole United States. So we're on the lower level, and it's actually pretty darn roomy.
The first thing you'll see when you pull out of the Larkin Ferry Terminal is the San Quentin State Prison. This prison opened in 1852, and it's the oldest prison in California. It is also the only prison that has male inmates on death row, and ends up being the largest one in the United States. The first place that Ray took us as he was driving us all around the city was to the Yerba Buena Island. It's kind of a secret viewing spot that we certainly missed last time we were here. And we got to see how beautiful the skyline is during the day, and in the distance there you can see another prison, Alcatraz, which is no longer used. After we had that great view, of course, what you have to do is get ready and drive over the bridge. And that's what we did. And as we're driving along here, I told Ray, I said, well, we just went by the money shot, Ray. Too bad it's got that gate or that fence in the way. And he says, well, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get another shot at it. In fact, I'll just take you across the bridge. And oh, by the way, maybe I'll open my sunroof and you can catch some good footage while hanging your camera out. And that's exactly what we did. Imagine what a treat this bridge must be with 5 lanes going in one direction during rush hour traffic. Yikes. Well, next up was Lombard Street. And I've been down this street a number of times. It's beautiful. It's got beautiful homes on each side. But it always blows my mind what it must be like actually living here with your real garage and your car basically held hostage every time you want to use it. I don't know how they're able to get in and out of their garage with this constant traffic, but it pretty much is a must-see every time you come to San Francisco. Here is one of probably hundreds of overlooks where there used to be artillery cannons installed to protect the western coast of the U.S. during World War II. The Cliff House was built by Adolf Sutro in 1896, but what was really fascinating was the Sutro bath. And this is the foundation that's left from the building. People would come from the entire area, the extremely rich and wealthy families, and come to bathe and spend the whole day immersed in this just super luxurious installation here. It was the largest swimming pool in the United States. It held 2 million gallons of water, and in its day, it must have been something else. We had told Ray the places that we had visited last time we were in San Francisco, so he of course concocted a completely different schedule for us and took us, rather than to donut shops and bakeries and the tourist trap stuff down by the wharf, he took us to cool places like this area where these paragliders were taking off. Now, we were able to talk to the people that were on the ground on what it's like to go up here, and they talked about how once you learn how to do this and you have the skills, that it's just effortless being up there, and you can stay up there for hours on end. We didn't know it at the time, but it turns out that this particular land, and in fact the parking lot we were parked on, underneath it was a World War II and Cold War era Nike missile site. So I found that out after the fact, and I just found it strange, and such a peaceful area now could have been such a violent area at one time. As we're rushing around, finishing up our day, sightseeing and looking at every direction and every cool thing that San Francisco has to offer, we ended up at this overlook, and we didn't have a clue where we were, but we loved being there.
Where are you, Mark?
I'm in San Francisco with my lovely wife, and we don't know where we are because Ray Taylor and Arlene drove us here on our own personal tour.
That's right. It's beautiful.
The last time Sue and I were in San Francisco, we stayed in a hotel right in downtown San Francisco, and one of the days we had an adventure where we rented electric bikes and toured the city, and in fact rode across the Golden Gate Bridge into Sausalito and eventually Tiburon, and came back on the ferry. This trip with Ray and Peaches was entirely different. It was just fabulous being driven around not having to rent a car, not having to know how the traffic worked and where to go. We had a wonderful time, Ray and Peaches, and if you'll have us back, we'll be back. Thanks a lot.